So last week I polled the short girl community on YouTube and asked you what you wanted a video on this month, and you all voted on why you're gaining muscle but still not losing fat. My cat just threw up. Sesame, do not eat that. I am back. My cat just threw up. Sesame, but we're good. Love that for us. Just a little introduction to get things going. What I was gonna say is that I actually made a video on this topic that popped off. It went viral and you guys really liked it. So if you do want to go watch that video after this one, there's a whole separate video on the reasons why you are building muscle but not losing fat. But for this video, I want to do things a little differently and make a very actionable plan. So in this video, I want to break down what to actually do when you are putting in the work, but your body is holding on to body fat for dear life. So this video is sort of like a why you as a petite woman are gaining muscle but not shedding fat, the ultimate action plan to start losing the fat. We've also had so many new viewers and petite women join the community, which I love to see. And I actually took a look under the hood at our channel analytics and saw that our viewings are going up really high, but our subscribers are still under 30% of all of the views. So if that makes sense, we are trying to get up to 30% or higher of people who are viewing this being actually subscribed to the community. So if you like this content, please subscribe, join the short girl corner of the internet where myself, April Whitney, I'm a personal trainer and nutritionist. I help you lose skinny fat, lose the body fat, tone up, feel so powerful in your body. So hit the subscribe button if you want to join and help us get our channel up above 30% subscribed. So off the bat, I have to say I struggled so hard with gaining muscle and not losing body fat for the longest time. It was so annoying. This here is a photo of me back when I felt like I had put on a lot of muscle. I was a competitive athlete at the time in the sport of fencing. I was actually pre-Olympic and I definitely had muscle and I worked out, but like I could not lose the fat for the life of me. It just felt like it was just clinging, and no matter how much cardio I did and how much dieting and how many like fads I did, juice cleanses, whatever, it just was not budging. And I was working really, really, really hard. Like I was desperate to lose it. And it seemed like nothing I could do at the time would make any noticeable difference in my body fat percentage. Once I learned what's different about my body as a petite, I was able to completely transform my body in 90 days and have a body recomp. That's when you lose body fat, gain muscle, and figure it out once and for all. And this was my result. It was so much easier. I was not overcomplicating it anymore. So in this video, if you've struggled with just holding on to body fat, we're gonna get into how to lose the fat if you've already built some of the muscle. And by the way, if you wanna know how, like all the other things that went into this transformation, I'm hosting a completely free masterclass on why traditional diet and exercise programs do not work for the short girl body type and what to do instead. You can join that free class. I'm hosting it on the 27th and the 29th. It's completely free and it's an incredible resource. If you've already been before, we've had over 30,000 petite women attend and change their lives just going to this free event. And so if you have seen it before, this is a really good opportunity to get a refresher so you can continue your results. So you can join our free class and save your seat below. So our action-oriented plan for losing fat if you have been already gaining the muscle. Now, this is going to mostly be a video about your diet and your nutrition, because presumably if you're already happy with the amount of muscle you have been lifting weights already. So I'm assuming you lift weights, you know how to put on muscle, you have the muscle already. It's just that layer of fat on top that's making you look bulky, feel bulky, instead of like toned and slim and lean and like powerful in your petite body. So step one would normally be go lift weights, but I assume you're already doing that. So we'll pass that and we'll move into the diet and nutrition part of this. So step one, and this is specific to short women, okay? The reason why it's different for us is because we have slower metabolisms, meaning we just burn fewer calories in a day naturally. So it makes it harder to enter a calorie deficit. And petite women make the biggest mistake ever. I made this mistake for so many years of, first of all, not knowing how many calories you're eating, but second of all, once you figure that out, doing way too steep of a calorie deficit, or just doing one at all, which you might not even have to do, and we'll get to that in a second. I was doing like hundreds of calories of a deficit because all of those online calorie calculators told me that's what I needed to do. Those calorie calculators are not made for us, okay? Throw them in the garbage. They do not work. If you want a better one, there's one on inside my club for petite women called the Powerhouse. That's a much better calculator because it's made for you. But that aside, those calorie calculators do not work for the shorter body type. What I recommend all petite women start with, if they're already lifting weights and they're not seeing any fat loss yet, is to keep their calories at maintenance level. What does that mean? Keep your calories the same to start. Okay, so that means that you are not going to go into a calorie deficit at all, because there's plenty of studies that show you can achieve a body recomposition when you lose fat and gain muscle at the same time if you keep your calories the same, but we make a little bit of changes to what you're eating. So it's not how much you're eating, but what you're eating that is gonna matter so much more when you're first starting your journey. Body recomposition does take a little bit longer. It's a bit more of a slower approach, more like 3 to 6 months, but that also means it's more sustainable. So if you're someone who really values sustainability, you don't want to go on a diet, you don't want to have to figure out too much, it's more like the easier, slower route. I recommend just start with a body recomp, keep calories the same, and change your macros, which we'll get into in a second as well. And that's your starting place. And if you don't know how to find your maintenance calories, all you gotta do is track what you're currently eating naturally without changing anything and see what your average daily caloric intake is for a few days. That's gonna be the number of calories that you eat to just maintain without gaining or losing weight. Okay, this is the money step. If you have already tried this, like you've been eating the same number of calories for a while and you're still not seeing results, this is when we move into step 2. We get a little deeper with it, okay? We finesse. All right, I like that word. I think I'm gonna use that a lot in this video. We're gonna finesse in step 2. We are going to try a slight calorie deficit. Now, like I said, you don't wanna get this wrong, because if you go too low in calories as a petite woman, because remember, we're already eating so few calories in a day, or a lot less than others, you are going to fail this diet. In other words, it's gonna fail you. I should have said that. This diet will fail you if you go too low, if you drop too many calories. You're gonna be very hungry. It's gonna be unsustainable. You're not gonna be able to enjoy desserts or go out with your friends, and you're gonna be like, F this, and you're gonna start to blame yourself. So just don't even make this mistake. Instead, here's how I want you to do a very slight calorie deficit if you're ready for this. Thanks to step number 1, you should already know your maintenance calories. So you know how many calories that you're eating to just maintain your current body weight. So for a slight calorie deficit, we're going to go literally just 50 to 100 calories fewer per day. That's it. That's it, my friends. I am kid you not. We are doing the teensiest little bit of a calorie deficit so that you don't even really notice that there's food missing. You don't even really notice that you are in a deficit. It should feel easy. I swear it should feel easy. So if you are eating 1,700 calories at maintenance or 1,600 calories at maintenance, let's say, then you will just do 1,500 calories or 1,550 per day. Okay, so that would be your calorie deficit as a petite woman. It's going to be smaller, more miniature, and it should be, because everything is scales down differently for us. Okay, we need a different approach. Okay, step 3 is, now that you know how many calories you're eating in a day and you're doing a slight petite deficit, I'm having too much fun with this. We need to figure out what your macro breakdown is gonna be. Okay, so your calories are made up of protein, fats, and carbohydrates. We call this, in the Petite Power method, which is the method that I use to help petite women have a body recomp without doing tons of cardio and restricting their foods. We call this PFF, protein, fat, and fiber, or petite friendly foods if you wanna be cute about it. Your calories are broken down into one of those 3 major food groups, but you wanna have the right ratio of those food groups so that you don't get hungry, so that you can promote keeping your muscle in your slight calorie deficit, and you can promote having a fast metabolism and burning fat around the clock. So here is the deal. My perfect petite fat burning macros for you to start with are 40% carbohydrates, 35% protein, and 20% fats. This relatively high intake of protein is gonna have the effect of boosting your metabolism and keeping you satiated all day. And if you're a science girly like me, you will appreciate a 2018 study that showed that women who followed a strength training protocol while consuming a high protein diet experienced significant fat loss and increased muscle mass. And that was in the Journal of the International Society of Sports Nutrition. And if you love the science like I do, then you will really love this masterclass that I'm teaching. This is my HIT masterclass just for short women only, where I break down everything that you're gonna need to know, how to break down your calories, how many macros to hit as a petite, as well the science behind building muscle and losing fat as a petite, how the fat loss process actually works for petites, because our bodies do work differently. We lose and gain weight differently. Extra ways you can boost your metabolism and burn fat, which foods and exercises help you burn fat and build muscle, as well as some very key mistakes you're probably making if you are building muscle but not losing fat. So make sure you save your seat. It's totally free below using the link, and I will see you in that class. You are going to love it. And this is just some things that real petite peers you have in this community have said about attending the class. Again, it is a hit, so don't miss out. I will see you there. Going back to petite fat burning macros, you do want to stay in this phase for a minimum of 4 weeks. Okay, I know we get anxious, I know we get excited, we want to like get the progress faster, but you gotta give that slight calorie deficit 4 weeks, and you gotta give it some true consistency, okay? If you are doing a slight deficit and then binge eating on the weekends, that's not a deficit anymore. And it also probably means you're going too low in calories, because you shouldn't be so hungry that you need to eat everything back. It should be so minuscule. That's the art of a calorie deficit for petites, that you don't get hungry and feel the need to binge on anything. Okay, step number 4, again, these steps are like progressive. So if you've already done 1, you've done 2 and 3, then let's move into 4. And again, you should take each step like 4 weeks at a time, because by the time you get through step 5, you will be ripped and like really great. So I would say this isn't meant to be all done at once. This is an actionable plan, 4 weeks at each step. Analyze at the end of each 4 weeks, move on to the next step. So in this step, if you've done all that diet optimization already, let's move into what you can change about your actual physical programming. Now, for petite women, I've seen a huge benefit in just increasing your NEAT. This stands for your non-exercise activity thermogenesis, which is just a fancy way of saying your like fidgeting, your walking around, your step count, things that just get you burning a little bit more throughout the day, boosting metabolism, having that like boosted metabolism effect without having to spend a lot of time at the gym or do anything that's gonna really spike your hunger like a HIIT cardio class. So step 4 is to increase your NEAT. You can either stand while you work, like a standing desk. You can take calls on a walk. Ideally, if you can increase your step count by just 1,000 to 2,000 steps per day, that's it from wherever you are currently, this is gonna be enough to help push a little bit more progress for you so that you really start burning fat and see some real results. This can be that final piece that's missing. And again, 4 weeks, do it, see how it pans out for you. Now, step 5 is probably the only step that you do at every step. So it's not even a step, it's sort of just like a reminder, a very, very important reminder that you need to track and measure your results as you're going so that you can figure out if you're actually getting results or not. And even before that, I want you to define what success looks like for you. If we are using the scale to measure body fat, you are not going to know if you lost body fat or not, because this isn't about losing weight, okay? This video is about losing body fat, especially if you're gaining muscle and losing fat at the same time. That's gonna net 0 on the scale. So the scale, if you're trying to tone up and just, you know, get a little tone for summer, the scale is not gonna be your best friend in this case. In this case, we wanna look at photos, how clothes fit. We want to look at body measurements around your waist. Those are gonna be much more accurate depictions of if you're trending in the right direction. So don't fall for that trap either of stepping on the scale and then not knowing if you made progress or not in your body recomposition. You could literally be losing fat, but the scale's not budging, okay? And your body could be changing drastically. In my pictures here, my weight was not drastically different. It was a change in body composition that made the appearance look so different, and the additional muscle and then losing the fat on top of it. So Simi's about to push that off of the counter. Okay. And you also need to define what your goal is. If you don't know what your goal is, you won't know whether you hit it or not. So make sure you know what is the actual goal you're going for. Is it to fit in a certain pair of jeans? Is it to feel a certain way? Is it to be a certain body weight measurement? There's no right answer, but define for you so that you have something to measure against every month as you're tracking your progress. I hope this helped you get a little bit clearer on some actual steps you can take from here to start losing the fat that just does not seem to want to come off your body. And if you want to go even more in depth into the science, into what foods to eat as a petite and have it completely tailored to your body as a petite, come to my masterclass. It is a hoot of a time, if I do say so myself. It's literally just all of us in a room together. You get to meet your petite friends, and there's no other place on the internet like it, honestly, where we can all come together. So I would love to have you, and recordings of the event will be provided for everyone who RSVPs. Let me know in the comments where you are in this kind of progression of steps. Let me know what you're struggling with most. I'm curious to hear if any of these steps did it for you, or you're like trying one of these next. And remember to subscribe so that we can help get our subscribers above 30% of our viewership, if that makes sense. And thank you guys so much. I hope this helped, and I will see you next month.